6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most awesomest homesteading channel on the planet that typically doesn't have anything whatsoever to do with homesteading off the grid. Again, today I come at you with an eclectic group of stories, emails sent in from you folks. Some really weird stuff going on out there. One email in particular, a gentleman brought up something I've noticed myself, but I never really thought much of it. So I'm going to ask you to make this video interactive, and that I want to see a lot of people commenting if you have indeed experienced the same thing. I'll point that out specifically when I get to it. Let's just jump right into it. The first email comes from Bob down in Georgia. Bob is 74 years old, and Bob, I want to let you know you're a role model to me, and I'm going to point out to everybody here in a minute why. Bob should be a role model to all of us. Bob writes, "Good day, Kevin. I live just north of Metro Atlanta in Alpharetta, Georgia. You may use my name, as at the age of 74, no worries at all. I've become a regular viewer and fan over the past 6 months or so. Though you are a lot younger than me, I feel we have quite a bit in common." I love it when people tell me that, though I am a lot younger than them. Continuing, this follows my strange occurrence. So here's the strange occurrence. In the past, I was a long distance runner and can still eke out a 10K, which I believe is pretty good for someone my age. Though my regular exercise these days is walking on a nearby greenway. So right there, 74 years old and still runs 10Ks. For my fellow Americans and folks who live in Liberia, a repatriated slave state in Northern Africa, the only country outside of the U.S. that uses our system of measurement, 10,000 meters or 10 kilometers, that's 6.2 miles. So Bob's 74 years old, and he still goes out there and runs races, road races that are 6.2 miles long at 74. Isn't that amazing? Think of people half that age that can't run from the front porch to their car in the driveway without getting winded. Bob, you're a role model. All right, continuing. In my mid-80s, my best friend and I were running one of our routes from where we worked in a hospital in Northwest Atlanta. So his best friend's in his mid-80s and still runs. You guys are amazing. All right. We were about half a mile from the Georgia governor's mansion when we approached a woman standing along the street in a very nice residential area. My buddy stopped a second but continued. I, however, stopped when she began asking a question if I knew what route she could walk to find an address she gave me. First off, let me mention, when she was walking to me, she was grinning, full out grin, even though there was not a reason in the world for it when asking a stranger for directions. I remember feeling a bit unsettled by this, and since my buddy had gone on but was walking slowly waiting for me, I decided to tell her I didn't know the best way to tell her to walk to her destination. I began running. I went no more than 4 paces, probably 3 seconds, before I realized an easy route she could walk, and I turned back around to tell her, and she was gone. She vanished into thin air. There was no cover or place she could have vanished to in a few seconds. She just vanished. The home she was standing in front of had a tree and a bush-free front lawn, which measured about 30 yards to the home. There was nowhere she could have hidden. I know I'm getting repetitive, but she vanished. I caught up to my buddy and asked him why he didn't stop. He replied that he felt something wasn't right with her. I recently watched a police body cam, which was posted on social media, in which the person stopped, disappeared from the driver's seat when the officer left the window. When the officer returned to the driver, she had vanished. This is all on body cameras, including the officer running around the car saying, "What the heck?" That reminded me of my experience, so I decided to relate it to you. I had a few strange and unexplainable occurrences occur over my lifetime, mostly when I was much younger. Anyway, this was one of them, and the very most troubling to me. I hope others who have had similar experiences write in and share. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it, Bob. Bob, we all here appreciate you taking the time to send us this story. And folks, this is the type of stuff that we thrive on, just strange things that can't be explained. We collect these things, and hence the True Hauntings series, available in print and Kindle on Amazon. The links are in the description box below. But I think these are the best stories out there because they just don't make any sense. All right, moving on. Now comes a story from Larry Green. Larry writes, "Hey Kevin, first I wanted to say I had a copy of The Lunatic in my cart overnight, and when I went back the following day it had disappeared and sold out, so let me know when more are available on Etsy. FYI, Larry, I ordered 20 more copies. They came in a couple of days ago and now they're all sold out again already, so I've ordered more. Got in another 20, I think, from the Graves of Babes. There's only 3 left, so you better jump on them if you want them. Our Etsy link's in the description box below. I need to start ordering more. It all started a few weeks ago. I decided to mention that I had these books in overstock because I think most of you didn't even know I was an author. I was just some weird dude on YouTube that has a Facebook page with 1 million people, and that's a weird page too. But yeah, man, it's how I got my start as a writer. So I told you I mentioned it on here, and everything sold out in a couple of days. So I've ordered more, and they keep selling out. If you guys keep buying my books, I'll keep ordering them. So Larry, stay tuned. Larry continues. As you know, I was getting over COVID in February. Oh, I should say the little C. You know how they censor everything on social media. They determine again they don't like us saying that word or using it out of context. We could get, what do they call it, canceled? Jeez, hopefully those days are over now. Whereas if you just speak your opinion, you don't get canceled. All right, continuing. I had the little C in February when I ordered From the Graves of Babes. Excellent, easy read. I read it in 24 hours. I couldn't put it down. Now to the story that's developing. I'm curious if any other viewers have noticed this. And this is what I was bringing up at the beginning. This is what I was alluding to. So pay close attention. Have any of your other viewers noticed a black fungus growing in driveways and sidewalks? I power wash my driveway a couple times this summer, mainly just for something to do. But after this last snowfall of about 10 inches in southwest Missouri, most folks would call it Missouri, but if you're from there, it's Missouri, melted, and I noticed a black looking mold or stain on my concrete. I've never noticed this before in other springs, and I had just power washed it in October before putting the hoses and stuff up for the winter. I don't use ice melts or salts as I usually leave by way of my garage, so I know it's none of that. Is mold normal after a snow and 50-degree weather? I don't know, but after seeing videos of chemtrails and fog and being sick this winter, now I'm just not sure. And by the way, we smelled the burnt wire smell here too a few different times. I just wrote it off to a house fire or something. Anyway, as always, if you should read on your channel, you have all permission to do with what you want with this email. Thanks again, Kevin. Best regards to you and your family, Larry Green. Larry, thank you for your email. And by the way, folks, if you have anything odd, a story you'd like to share, you can email the channel at crazylake@mail.com. If you forget that email address, go in the description box just below the video where it says see more. Click on that. It's down there. So, can you help answer Larry's question? Have any of you been seeing some sort of odd black mold on the pavement or the sidewalk or anything? I've been noticing it on the side of trees ever since that strange fog moved in. I should have made this video by one of those trees. So I don't know if it's something that's always been there or if it's something that I'm just now noticing because I'm a little bit paranoid because of what's been going on. So make this video interactive, comment, and let us know if you've been seeing any of this black mold. All right, moving on now to an email from Kathy Green. Kathy writes, and this is a short one. It's only like one paragraph, but this is important because I've got a very big question to ask. Kathy says, hello, Kevin. Many drones are flying around Granger, Texas above houses, low to the ground at times with bright lights setting off movement lights on our cameras. I've never seen anything like this ever in my life. My name is Kathy Green and I'm 60 years old and it feels extremely creepy. It's happening as I'm sending this email on March the 6th at 7:39 p.m., which today is my husband Troy's birthday. So she sent this email last night. Troy, happy belated birthday. If you're watching, happy belated birthday. But folks, Kathy Green she's pointing out something very important here. It's still happening. It's still going on. Here she is in Texas seeing swarms of drones flying low to the ground. They're setting off people's safety emergency lights they keep on the side of their house. But the media just stopped talking about it. I mean, we're still unsatisfied with President Trump's explanation, aren't we? He comes out and he says the FAA had given approval, the drones were doing research and other things. And then that's it. And now you're not seeing it in the news anymore, but clearly it's still going on. So, all right, now we've got one from Pam. Pam writes, "Hi, Kevin. I am relatively new to your channel. I must say I look forward to your daily videos. You are informative and funny." Thank you, Pam. Now this is a good one. There's some really weird stuff going on. Listen to this. Yesterday, I was sitting watching the rain outside my windows because I was not feeling well. I was just sitting watching the rain slide down my bedroom windows when I became aware that the rain was more like maple syrup sliding down my windows than water. I kept watching in total surprise. You know, like the ceramic glaze from the car wash they pour as part of a glam package. You see it appears thicker than just water? Yeah, that's a good example. Well, I was not feeling well. Mucus, sneezing, runny nose, etc. I can relate. Still under the weather over here in Virginia. I went to let my dogs out the night prior around 9 p.m. and noticed a smell, but could not quite pinpoint the exact smell. Kind of like Dawn soap, kind of chemical, but more dish soap-like. Not so much like someone was drying clothes and had a fabric softener, but in any event, I got my dogs in quickly. So something was in the air because at my age, I can tell you I've never seen rain run down my windows like maple syrup. I have noticed fog on my walks with my dogs prior to seeing all the commotion on YouTube about it. One night it looked weird, so I hurried inside. Since all the fog, I do not have all the birds that used to sit on my fence daily. I'm lucky to see one bird every couple days. I used to have 5 to 7 birds a day stop and perch on my fence. You can use my name, Pam, but please don't show my email address. I live in North Carolina, near Greensboro. Passed through that area coming back up from Key West there just a couple weeks ago. Beautiful area down there. Got a good buddy down there, by the way, who just survived hip replacement surgery. Shout out to my buddy Jonathan. So, well, that brings up a interesting story about something I went through yesterday. I guess I'll go ahead and tell it. So, by the way, I meant to put the black fog in that Larry I just remember because I've got 2 pictures I want to show. First, let me show you a picture of the black fog Larry Green talked about in his email, and let me know if you see anything like this. Have a look. I'm sorry, did I say black fog? I meant black something else, whatever that stuff is. Mold, I guess, or a fungus. All right, but I have another picture I'm getting ready to show you. So I'm working on a couple of new writing projects, a couple of books. One I've actually been thinking about for many years, and it's finally, I've been spurred to action with some things that have happened in my personal life here lately. So I'm going to undertake another very serious novel, and it's going to be unlike anything I've written because it's not paranormal related, it's not horror, it's not drama, it's not suspense. Maybe it's drama, I don't know. But anyway, there's another thing I'm working on that I was inspired to start when we took our trip to Key West. I bought a painting down there from a local artist. I don't know if you saw it. Maybe you're new to the channel and you weren't here when we were in Key West, but let me show you that painting. I took a picture of it. I've got it hanging in my reading nook, which is basically my upstairs hallway in my house. I've turned it into like a little private library and a reading nook, and that's where I do most of my work now. So I've got it hanging there on the wall. It's called Key West Fried Chicken. Have a look. All right, isn't that a beautiful painting? Got that from a local artist who basically just sits on a corner down in Key West. He's been doing it, I think, for 20 years. He told me, I can't remember. Sits on the corner in Key West doing what he loves, painting pictures and selling them right off the corner to tourists like me mostly. And he sits there and he makes more than $1,000 a day doing it. What an amazing life that guy's living. He's living the dream. So that inspired me. So I'm working on a book now. Don't judge, brah. We all have different things we're into. So I'm working on a book that I'm only allowed to write on when I am partaking. What I mean by that is rewind and look at that chicken and look at what that chicken's doing. I'm only allowed to write random thoughts that come to my mind while I'm, how do I put it out there and stay underneath the community guideline standards here on YouTube? Let's see. So that chicken, probably because what it was doing was baked, like a baked chicken. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? So anyway, I just have these random thoughts at times like that, and it's going into the book. And some of them, I read them like the next day, and it's like, wow, that's profound. But I was thinking about my buddy, he is my oldest childhood, longest running friendships, just had hip replacement surgery. And yesterday, I had a tooth extracted. So I've got a couple of teeth. I went to the dentist a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of like a dental emergency. I had 2 fractured teeth. That's why I've been talking kind of slow. And I think that's why another reason I've been under the weather a bit. When your body has an injury, it kicks in trying to fight it and it'll run you down a little bit. So I went in yesterday for 2 crowns. The minute that the dentist lady, very like supermodel, pretty Indian woman, as soon as she touched the furthest back tooth with the drill, it like split in half. And she was like, we can't save this tooth. They were hoping they could save it. They did the 3D scans and all this stuff. She says, we just got to do an extraction. Well, that means they had to pull it, right? And I have to go back to get the other one fixed here in a couple months after I'm completely healed from this. So I was like, okay. And her assistant is equally beautiful. She's like she looks half Black American and half Latina to me. And it's like, these women are gorgeous. I'm in this chair. I'm like, well, how bad can this be? Right? Ooh, let me tell you, it took 30 minutes and it got bad. It was brutal. I mean, at one point she's yanking on my tooth and it literally broke. And I saw the tooth go flying across the room and it banged off the wall. And I was like, and this is after like 10 minutes of pulling and yanking. And I was like groaning and grunting. I was like, oh my God, did we just cross the finish line? She's like, no, it broke off. And so now I've got to go up into the gum and pry out the root. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And the whole time I'm telling myself, I'm thinking, think pleasant thoughts, stay calm. Of course, they numbed me up pretty good. And they had to stop at one point and numb me some more because I started feeling it. But you could hear it and you could envision what's going on. So last night while I was partaking, and I'm going to tell you what this has to do with my buddy having hip replacement surgery. I remembered one of the random thoughts I was having while I was in that situation. Now listen, let me tell you, I had a lot of different thoughts going through that. And I told my son this. He deserved this praise because before this happened, when they said extraction, and I knew what that meant. And yes, I have a high pain tolerance and, from being an endurance athlete, an Army soldier, all these things, I can take the pain, I can tolerate it, and I can do it for a long time. Let me tell you, it was always my theory that, because I was a miler in high school, a 5,000 meter middle distance runner in college, my thought was always, he who wins is he who can tolerate the pain and discomfort longer than the rest of the competition. Because those races, especially a mile, I don't know if you know it or not, that's a sprint anymore. I mean, the world record's like 3 minutes and 42 seconds. So that's running one lap in like 52 seconds flat out 4 times in a row without stopping. My math might be wrong, but it's painful. So anyway, but I was scared before I started it. And so I remembered my son who, quarterbacked his tackle football team this past fall. It was his first season of playing tackle football after having played flag football for like 6 or 8 years. And we're starting again next week. Spring flag football starts up and I'm coaching again as an assistant this time. After having, we just won our basketball league final championship and I was the head coach and he was a power forward on the team. We've got this thing we've just done ever since we came here. It's wonderful, man. A lot of people tell me, they say, oh, I'd like to coach my kids' teams too, but I'm not qualified because I never played sports or I don't understand much about it. I never played football. I never played basketball. I was a track guy. I couldn't catch a ball, couldn't throw a ball, couldn't kick a ball, couldn't shoot a ball. So I ran track. The number one requirement to be qualified to coach youth sports, because you can learn everything about it once you're doing it, is time. If you have the time to commit, or, and this is the big one, this is what a lot of the yuppies don't like to hear. If you're willing to make the time, you are 100% qualified to coach youth sports and be more involved with your son's life or daughter, and be more involved with their friends' lives and just their little community. And it's such a beautiful thing once you get to that point, if you do that. And I'm telling you, fathers, mothers, grandparents who are raising grandchildren, make the time, because it's so worth it. You will form a bond with your child or with your grandchild that you wouldn't otherwise. Time, that's our most precious resource. We can always make more money, but we can never make more time. So how do we spend it? Spend it where it matters. Not an extra 20 hours a week down at the job so you can make those payments. How about stop buying stuff and spend that extra 20 hours instead of trying to stay caught up with payments? Spend it with your children, your grandchildren, and just volunteer to get involved in whatever activities they're doing. You'll never regret it. Now, with that said, I was terrified to go under the oral forceps. I remembered my son. I knew every time he stepped out onto that field and went under center to take those snaps, he was scared. I know because he told me. He admitted it. He was embarrassed about it at first. And I said, don't be embarrassed. And I would quote Cus D'Amato, Mike Tyson's coach, original trainer and coach, who said, everybody's scared. It's just you got to learn how to control that fear. You can learn to control that flame, and like a mighty forest fire, you can burn down the competition. But if that fear controls you, it'll burn you down like a house. So it's something we always worked on. And there was one game in particular where there was this kid, his number 77, who was 6'5" or 6'6", probably 220 pounds. He was a linebacker, and he growled every time the ball was snapped. And on one play, he broke through the line, and he was coming after my son, and a couple other guys was coming after my son. He was so scared, he started running backwards. It was almost comical, and I was like, no. He ran back 16 yards. We lost 16 yards, but they caught him, and all three of those guys just sacked him, and he came off to the sidelines. He said, oh, my back. He said, how's it look? He pulls up his jersey, and I look at it, and there's blood running down his back, and it's already instant bruise. And I'm like, you're fine, buddy. Hey, way to take a hit. And I was like, oh, my gosh, because you don't want them to know how bad they're hurt, to be scared, you know. He sat out a couple series, and our other quarterback was in there. And we kept telling him, you got to get back in. You got to get back in. And he finally went back in. So that's what I remembered before going into this tooth extraction thing. The bravery of my son, who's a big kid for his age. He's bigger than me now. He's 14, and he's like 5'9" and 150 pounds. When I graduated high school, I was 5'9" and 135 pounds. So, but still, that other kid was way bigger. So that gave me the courage. So I'm sitting there. Here's one of the random thoughts I had during one of the most painful periods of this extraction yesterday that came back to me last night. This is an entry into the book I'm working on, inspired by Key West Fried Chicken, the painting. It occurred to me, while this one, beautiful as she was, woman's yanking on me with these forceps, and this other woman, beautiful as she was holding me down in the chair, I thought, who are these people? And I thought, my gosh, how crazy are we as a society? I said, I came in here once before this for a consultation. I met these people. I don't even remember their names. I don't know their names. And because of the uniforms they're wearing and a name tag and some title they possess, it's like we just assume they're qualified to shove their hands into our mouths and pull teeth out of our skulls. And oh my God, this is torture. And I don't even know these people. Why am I letting them do this to me right now? And isn't there truth to that? Isn't that insane? So anyway, she takes a break. She needs to get a different size forceps because she's pulling the root out of my gum in pieces because it keeps breaking off. And I said, she goes, how are you doing, Kevin? And I said, well, God, at least she remembered my name. Of course, I did see her look up at the chart. She paused and looked up just before she said it. More confirmation. Why am I letting her in my mouth? And I'm always trying to be a funny guy. I deal with pain, fear, seriousness through humor. It's a defense mechanism. That's why I have over 1 million followers on Sick Twisted Humor on Facebook. Go become one of them if you're not. Getting ready to make a lot of reels featuring Piglet, by the way. You folks have shown good interest in Piglet, so I am going to set up some jumps for what one of our followers here on YouTube calls Honda Monkey, even though the guy that fixes my bike every other time I ride it, because it's very low quality, tells me whatever you do, don't take it across jumps. willing to take that risk for viral content. So anyway, I say to the doctor, I said, well, it could be worse. I said, you know, my longest, oldest childhood friend just had hip replacement surgery, and all I'm doing is having a tooth pulled. She leans forward and she looks into my eyes with those big, beautiful almond eyes of hers, and she goes, oh, this is worse. I was like, huh? And she goes, oh, when you do a surgery like hip replacement, you're put to sleep. Your friend never knew what happened. He just went to sleep and he woke up and it was finished. And she says, you're wide awake for all of this. You can hear the roots grinding against the bone in your gums. You can feel the pressure I'm putting on you. And you can feel my assistant holding you down as you want to get up and run away. And I was like, oh my God, am I a Gitmo? So anyway, that was my experience. I just thought I'd share it with you. Because looking back at it now, and looking back at it while partaking, it's actually kind of humorous. But you have to ask yourself, why do we, as a people, just allow random strangers, because of a title they possess, why do we trust them enough to like torture us physically in the name of medical purposes? I'll leave you with that. You think about that. If you figure it out, you let me know. Y'all are going to love that book when it comes out. I'm already at 5,000 words. I'm just shooting for 20, but gosh, you know, this thing's starting to hurt a little bit. I might have to go self-medicate. Shoot, it might end up being 40,000 words by the time it's done. All right. Keep your heads on a swivel. Be vigilant and alert. See y'all for more next time.